My name is John Fox. My Twitter handle is Djembe. That's valuable information. And I am talking about alternate paths to living the dream. Well, the first thing we have to answer is, what is the dream? What does that mean? The default answer you usually get is something along these lines. Do work you nominally enjoy. At least don't hate what you do during the day. Earn a comfortable living so you can have food on the table and a place to live. Save for retirement so that at the end of the day you're not living out on the streets somewhere. And should you decide to raise kids who don't turn into psychopaths like me. What is my answer to this? My answer is pretty simple. I want to travel widely and see the world through many different lenses. I want to collaborate with fascinating people on a number of meaningful projects. This is deeply important to me. Even more important, I want delicious meals with family and friends. Food is extremely important to me. It is the essence of my happiness. And I want music around me at all times. That is the life I am living. So the question is, how did I get here? So we are going to have to go back in time a little bit. Now, this may seem difficult to believe, but I wasn't always this beautiful, suave, sophisticated, well-dressed, well-spoken guy. There was a time when I was a dork. And I was just starting out life. That is me. I was probably, I guess, 15 years old. It was in high school. I had really not done much with my life except for I dreamed of going to interesting places, meeting interesting people, and hopefully scamming my way into the club of interesting people. At that time, I loved to cook. I loved to play drums, but I'd hardly traveled. And honestly, certainly not anywhere by myself. But probably most importantly, I thought computers were for hopeless nerds. And I was at that time wondering, what am I supposed to do with my life? Because my mom practiced a certain type of detachment parenting. So around about the age 15, the boots started coming out. She said, get the hell out of here. You don't pay any rent, and I haven't seen you put food on the table. Get out of here. So I'm trying to think, what am I going to do with my life? I did not have the benefit of an Italian mother with whom I could live until age 40. Some people here know that's true. Ciao, Mama. And so I was thinking, what do I do with my life? Should I become a chef? Because I thought that was kind of cool. And so I figured, well, if I'm going to do that, I should go out and kind of get a job, or at least start it, because this is how I saw myself in my mind. So I walked into a nearby restaurant and said, hire me, I am great. I can put food on a plate and it will look like that. And so the guy says to me, you can plate food like that? I said, hells yeah. And he goes, great, wash the plate first. Go back there and start from the beginning. So I did. And I learned some valuable lessons from that one thing. First thing is that there will always be grunt work. And you should never be above doing it, because the grunt work that you think is beneath you makes systems go around, and that is the theme we'll see about that. But thankfully, because I was reasonably humble, I was given ever-increasing responsibilities, and I learned to be a prep cook in high school, and that's basically coming in and learning all about mise en place. Mise en place is a fancy French term for a very simple concept. It means everything in its place, put it in its place. And so if you were going to cook something, this is what your workspace should look like. If you're going to make this very delicious dish, beef bourguignon, you have to start with the beef. It has to be all properly trimmed and cut. You have to have carrots that are in the right size. You have to have lardon of bacon. You have to have the mushrooms. You have to have beef stock that you made from the bones yesterday. And most importantly, you need lots of wine. You need lots of wine. One for me, half for the butt. And you let it simmer for a while, and then eventually you get something quite delicious that looks like that. What did I learn from that? Do your prep work first. Critically important, no matter what you do in life, software or cooking. Let things simmer. Good taste comes, and it takes a while to develop. So this type of imagery in this story certainly makes me think of my grandmother. Hopefully it makes you think of grandmothers. If you close your eyes, you can probably start to smell it and imagine her in your mind. The sweet, loving embrace of your grandmother who will tell you everything you need to know about life. So let's have a word from Grandma. Okay, yeah. Let's have a word from Grandma. What would Grandma tell you? She would probably say, shave before you put on your clothes. But she would also tell you something very, very important, is don't waste anything. Because our grandparents, and even some of our parents, grew up in times of privation. If you lived through the war and you lived in a post-war world and food was hard to get, you would not waste anything. You would find ways to extend and build multiple things from one thing that you started with. Case in point, roast chicken. Roast chicken. You start out with a roast chicken, you will have a delicious meal that night. Your friends will love you forever. But if you're smart, you'll be able to turn it next day into something also delicious, a delightful salad with the leftover bits of cold chicken, hopefully a nice sauce. And if you're also smart, you will make a delicious stock. You will take the bones, you will boil them down with herbs and aromatics and let them go, because that will become the basis of your next dish that you make. So these are some of the lessons I got from cooking, all the way back from I first started to learning how to do it through to today. I also told you I loved music. Music has always been very, very important to me in many, many different aspects of my life. I have to make it when I deal with this system. My bills are on time, but my pay always late. I work for myself. I don't work for no one else. If I work in a ditch, I get rich. I would not make it if I couldn't make it. There ain't no reason just to look for freedom. Who was that? Who was that masked man? Where did that music come from? This is an artist called Clark Kent, who in the late 70s, while he was in another band working to become famous, went in and recorded by himself an album that he put on green vinyl and put on a mask and hid his identity, causing mass speculation in the world. Who is that masked man that's making this funny hit that managed to make it up pretty high onto the charts? Well, it was Stuart Copeland. Stuart Copeland is the drummer, one of my favorite drummers, and a very interesting guy in a band that eventually became the Grail.
How can you say that you're not responsible? What does it have to do with me? What is my reaction? What should it be? Confronted by this latest atrocity, driven to tears, driven to tears.
What did I learn from that? A couple of things. One is that if you're getting started, you may have to fake it. Fake it if you need to when you're getting started. But eventually, you better find some great partners so you don't have to fake it anymore. Stuart Copeland was a master of advanced promotion for what he did. And you would think, what lessons could I possibly learn from a software, as a software developer, from a musician? Being an indie anything involves learning how to promote your product, find partners to be able to build a name for yourself when you are just getting started out. So, lessons from drumming. And I think I may have told you at the beginning. If I didn't, let me remind you again. There will be a test at the end of this, so pay attention. There will be fabulous non-cash prizes. What is a djembe? Because people say, who the hell do you think you are, DJ Embe? No, it's not DJ Embe, it's djembe. A djembe is a powerful West African drum. It is the most powerful of drums, I think, in the world. And what is it? Probably for the first time in Paris, but I went to Dakar, Senegal, and saw that I said, I want to bring that power home. I want to be able to strap one on and be able to pound out rhythms that will make buildings shake. And at the time when I was doing it, there weren't that many. It was kind of unique, but as things that become popular, sometimes they come around and you're not the only one that idea, and sometimes things get a little lost in translation. Observing that phenomenon. Small groups often have more power than big groups. And you need to listen to the people you're playing with. One of the big differences if you're playing drums is if you do not listen and you do not leave space and everybody's pounding around together, which happens at these drum circles. It is the equivalent in music of making finger paint and mixing all the colors together and ending up with brown. Or if you're cooking, mixing too many ingredients together and getting something that tastes brown. Or, as you might imagine, building some software and putting a shit ton of features into it, and you get features and software that is brown. Let's talk about traveling. I told you that traveling was very, very important to me. And a few years ago, actually more than a few years ago, I went to Seoul. And I saw that Seoul's got soul. At that time, boy bands and hip-hop were just starting to come into popularity. And on every magazine corner and on the television, I saw things that looked like this. So, my Korean is not very good, and I suspect that what they were singing about, hey baby, look at my wiener. That's as far as I can tell. And what I've found surprising about this is that, everybody wanted to be this. And it struck me as a little bit strange because, there was already the Backstreet Boys. There was already the Front Street Boys. There was already NSYNC and a million other different similar boy bands. And the culture was so powerful, it got broadcast to the farthest corners of the world, and everybody in every corner of the world that had a television and a magazine wanted to be that. And I thought to myself, that was kind of sad, because while I was there, I went and saw some other things, which I found far more interesting, like this. If you're going to imitate the global standard, you've got lots of competition. Everybody's doing it. Your local culture is actually more unique. You may think it is the corniest, dumbest thing in the world. We've been doing a Korean folk dance and spinning around like that and putting stuff on our head and making twirly things and playing that rhythm. I've heard that all the time. You have. Somebody else in the rest of the world has never heard that. The essence of hip-hop is taking something that you have that nobody else gives you, that you're allowed to experiment with something that's very unique to you, and you create something that blows up in the world. And in my mind, the much more interesting thing to work with would be something that you have. So you may want to one day get out your grandpa's lederhosen and make a video of it. It might be more original than trying to look like Justin Timberlake. Some other lessons. Seeing from different angles. So I took a trip this past weekend through the great graces of Meadow and her lovely mother, Henrietta and Judy, and all the other Appsterdam team that allowed us to have a walking tour of Rotterdam. And Rotterdam is a fascinating place. If you haven't been there, go there. And I came across a sculpture, and I thought this sculpture was really cool. I was walking down the street, I look up, and I see oil barrels all over the place, and these gooey, greepy, kind of slimy people coming out for it. And I didn't really quite know what to make of it. It was interesting, a little bit odd and disturbing. But I walked on, and I said to myself, I'm hungry. I want some good old American hot dogs. That will take my mind off of that foul thing I just saw. And with a name like Hans Wurst, it couldn't possibly be bad. But maybe it was. It did get worse because when I looked at the back of it, it looked like they were using the same oil barrel cans to actually. Wait, that's what I saw, and that's what they were giving me to eat. Those two things are separated by about 20 meters, but these are things that I noticed when I'm walking down the street. In Rotterdam, there are many different sculptures. There are many different pieces of art memorializing what had happened in World War II. Now, you guys all know this. I hope everybody knows this, but that's what Rotterdam looked after the war. And when they put up these big statues, they were for remembrance. They were for people to think about what had happened, about the destruction of society, and what would come beyond, what would come next. So I looked at a particular sculpture, and I literally got up on the sculpture because this one really spoke to me, because it had a woman with a young child in her hand and two stalwart men looking forward to the future. And I thought to myself, what would they see if they were now able to open their eyes in the present? And so if you see over there, that's kind of what they see off in the corner. What they're looking at is a fake Mexican beach-style restaurant in the middle of Rotterdam. Now, I have nothing against fake beach chalet restaurants in the middle of Rotterdam, except for it seems to me that there's not a whole lot of sun there, and maybe there's some interesting things that you can do. It's just something to think about. And what it made me think about is, are you working on something worthy of those who sacrificed and came before? And that's something I really want people to think about. Now, I started this talk, and you were sold, but you said you were going to talk about being an indie developer. So let's talk about being an indie developer. Let's talk about a product that I've been working on and shipping for a long time, MemoryMiner. MemoryMiner is an app that has been my passion, my work obsession since 2005 when I first started working on it. And what I wanted to do is basically make a tool for digital storytelling where I could take a photograph and annotate it and attach metadata to it and attach media for it so that you could get the backstory of a particular photo. So you use it, and you might draw a region out there and write something snarky like lickety-quick, I spit wickedly. That is one of the presenters at NS Conference. And in the conference, attending that was our own Mike Lee, who I put a mask around and said, drop a beat, I'll catch it for you. When you look at certain photographs, you may see something like this phrase, our beef is British, and we are not mad. Why is this funny? Why is this interesting? Why is this looking at something different? Well, because it was in London, and it was on the side of a truck delivering McDonald's food, and as those who remember the whole mad cow scare, there was a time when you really didn't want to say that your beef is British, but given enough time passing and enough distractions, people won't think about it anymore. One of the things I like to do with this application is to go back in time and relive and attach blame. So that is a picture of my brother trying to choke me to death and recording a video for her saying, why did you choke me to death? You probably would say because you were an annoying little twat. It also allows you to work and attach places to it, and as you attach places, you can start to kind of look at patterns in how you've progressed through time and place. That is my son in the Pompidou Center, who's very small and very dear to me. This is me being a fool in NS Conference, and the nice thing about it is while you can mark up who is being a fool in a particular place, you can of course then publish it to the web. So there's a very nice cappuccino-based web browser, and it outputs data for it in RSS format, and it can be picked up in an iPhone application with a beautiful design from Marcello Lupi, who is from Wrinkly P, whom I met through NS Conference, and Drew announced says he will help you design and make your shit look beautiful, and he did, so that you could have nice packages of delicious looking stories out there and deliver the snark in nice ways, like the sumo wrestling video, so you can see what happened afterwards. As I'd said, I've been working on this for a while. I shipped it first in 2006 at Macworld. I was very, very pleased that I won the best of the show. I thought, I've made it, it's great. There's a lot of work that comes after that. There were a number of different activities and other different kind of things that you could do to help you build up a product. One of the things is I was very lucky. MemoryMiner was in the TED gift bag the next year in 2007. That led to some speaking engagements and a bunch of contacts and all sorts of good stuff like that. My app MemoryMiner was the basis of this thing called the Memory Lab, which is at a museum in Berkeley, which is now part of UC Berkeley, and it was a place where people could bring in their photographs and their recollections of things that are important in history. They built a lab around it. I thought it was really cool. In Czechoslovakia, the Czech National Archive uses it and tells stories of buildings that no longer exist, that had a history of the people that were in them. And that pan and zoom ability means that they could take a postcard or an old photograph that had 4 or 5 buildings into it and turn it into a history of 4 or 5 buildings. At Duke University, they've used it to be able to teach music classes, so that if you're talking about the history or functionality of instruments, you can zoom in on areas, you can attach video of you playing it, that type of stuff. I was happy that it's gotten pretty good reviews out there. Cult favorite in Mac world, Cult of Mac, pretty well respected magazine. Mac World had a nice review of it, so on and so forth. So that's stuff I've been working on for a long time. But what else you got? And this is what we'll come back to, these lessons about not wasting anything and making things out of there. Who can tell me what this means? I think I need a priest. So this is an application I worked on called Phrase Farm, which is for a service called Mightyverse, which is about building stories around language and interesting phrases. I forgot to put in there that the prior phrase from I think I need a priest with, I'm terribly sorry, I ran over your cat. And so that's nice for teaching language, but it also has a very serious side to it. I was very pleased that this application was in an article in the New York Times talking about a project that was done with Mightyverse for preserving languages, unknown languages that were in danger of disappearing, everything from Hawaiian to more obscure of the Native American languages, and I think that's really cool. I'm incredibly proud of it. But that's just jive talking.
Can I get you something?
Your mofo butter laying me to the bone, jacking me up. Tight me.
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Cuddy say can't hang.
Oh, stewardess, I speak jive.
Oh, good.
He said that he's in great pain and he wants to know if you can help him.
All right, would you tell him to just relax and I'll be back as soon as I can with some medicine.
Just hang loose, blood. She's gonna catch up on the rebound on the med side.
What it is, Big Mama? My mama raised no dummies. I duck a rap.
Cut me some slack, Jack.
Say Cuddy can say
Chump don't want to help. Chump don't get the help.
Say can't hang, say 7 Up.
Jive ass dude don't got no brains anyhow.
Now, when I was in junior high, predictably, this was one of my favorite movies of all time. It still is one of my favorite movies of all time. And what's interesting about this particular scene is, on the surface, it's got something very clever and odd about it. You have jive black guys, and then you have some super white woman coming in saying, I can speak your language, haha. But what's interesting about it is to think about the actors and the characters that they portrayed beforehand, what were they known for, and what happened to these people who had this enormous amounts of fame. 15 minutes of fame, maybe 16 or 17, because it was really that popular. So one of the derivatives I've made from my MemoryMiner product is a thing that does, attach metadata and media to frames of video. If not a single photograph, a frame of video. So this is a production app I wrote, which is used by a company called WatchWith, which develops this library of interesting data about moments in video and television programs. So you can do things like advance through the frame, and you can create these little kind of cards and information about what's going on in the scene. And you can also do things like search through Google and YouTube and other content management systems to find interesting related content. And you can do things like take the video and use it as a grab and capture an image of somebody that is directly related to their portrayal as a character in the frame. So instead of the red carpet photograph of the actor, you get the character in, the actor in context, in character in the frame of the video. And that data goes into a web service, and it's used and surfaced in second screen applications, applications that follow along with the movie and give you information and run on things like iOS devices or on mobile web or whatever, so that when you come to that scene, you have some information about it. You can tap on something saying, tell me something more about this character, and that you might then develop a deeper understanding of what happened, because the woman who spoke jive was not arbitrary white woman that they got from central casting, but in fact, she was the character June Cleaver, who was Leave It to Beaver's mom. Leave It to Beaver was a very funny, well, it was kind of an iconic television program in 1950s America, and it taught you that your mother should wear perfect pearls and have a tight collar and be waiting for when the dad got home. And she's an unlikely character to be talking smack. The Jive dudes, who were looking all tough, ended up, riding out their 15, 16 minutes of fame. That's them recently behind a drapes table at the Comic-Con convention. And so you think to yourself, wait, you thief, you just shamelessly stole shit from other people's software. Well, yes, I did. I stole it from my own software, because if great artists steal, then if I've stolen from myself, okay. Well, but so I'm able to use components that I have. Remember, your roast chicken becomes multiple meals. So what did I remember? What did I learn from this? Your life passions are your brand, and it is that will get you the gig. What is the gig? The gig is anything. It is the engagement. It is the sale of your software. It is the invitation to give a talk at a conference. If you spend all your time thinking only about becoming the best programmer and the best practitioner, the best Objective-C in and out, Cocoa Touch frameworks all inside and out, that's great and wonderful, but at some point that won't be the most important toolkit out there. It will come from somewhere else. You need to develop algorithmic knowledge, and you need to have multiple proofs of your algorithmic knowledge, and your algorithmic knowledge comes from what you care about observing and doing in life. And if you do that, you can then balance your life by doing stuff for money and doing stuff for love. Sometimes the stuff you do for money will be the stuff you do for love. Sometimes the stuff that you love doing will make no money. And so you hopefully have some other things that you can do for money to keep you going while you're doing that. And you will need collaborators. That is incredibly important, because remember, if you're starting out and you think you're Prince and you think you're a badass and I can compose music and I can play 12 different instruments and I can go into my recording studio and I can make a record and I can become the record label and I can become the charts and I can do all that stuff, you can if you're Prince, and Prince worked hard at doing it. Otherwise, you may have to find some other people to work with. And you need people who have multiple points of view, who are well-traveled, who have interesting, different perspectives of you. Where in the world might you find such a place? Amsterdam. Why do I love Amsterdam so much? Because I knew that if I came here, I could certainly be connected in a workspace and do my work and work on MemoryMiner and work on my consulting work and do all those different things. And yes, I would have a video, chat with my child and say hello, how are you, and all that kind of stuff, just like if I was in San Francisco while they're now currently in Italy on vacation. I could do that here. But I could do so much more. I could do this. I could go to speaker training. I could go to Cafe Box to meeting and drinking. I could go to travel around and have the chance to do some of these things, to observe, to increase my knowledge, to increase my point of view on different things. And I don't know of another place that has put so much effort into raising everybody up. And for that, I am absolutely grateful. So a round of applause for Appsterdam. Take it for granted, nurture it, help it grow, help it live, and take advantage of it. So, I promised that there would be fabulous cash list prizes on here, so I have some bachi. But, rather than just blindly throw them out, we're going to do a little contest here. Who can tell me what a djembe is?
West African drum.
What about it? Who else gets one? Here. Bacho. You had your answer. Sam, did you get the answer right? No. Okay. Where is there an attractive Italian woman around? Davide Bacho, subito. Okay, not you. Oh, no. Next question. If you are a South Korean teenager and you want to make it big, why should you not be in a boy band?
Too much competition.
Exactly! There we go.
The local culture is awesome.
There we go. We learn. Now, this is the most difficult question. Where is the best place in the world to be an app maker? Thank you very much. I wish you all the great great things in life. I wish you wide travel with the love of friends and family. And I thank you for listening to me. If you saw things that you found interesting, would like to collaborate, you can reach me as john@memoryminer.com. And if you're not already following me on Twitter, please do so. I am Djembe.